UFC Fight Night, Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen. I'm going to go through the strengths and weaknesses of both fighters and then give you guys my prediction as to how I think the fight will go and who will win. Let's get straight to it. Max Holloway, what are his strengths? Now, you can see on the screen, it's obvious. The amount of strikes he throws per fight is one of his strengths. His volume, let's say. He has the most significant strikes in the whole of the UFC at 2,975. Behind him is Frankie Edgar, 1,801. So there is a significant gap there in significant strikes thrown, and I'm sure he'll hit 3,000 at some point. But this is something he uses to his advantage. You know, he doesn't have crazy knockout power, so he uses his volume to drown you and accumulate strikes that will hurt you and then get a TKO. He has the third most fight time in UFC history. You know, 24 fights in the UFC. He definitely has the experience over Arnold Allen. He's been in there with the best for a long time, and that's another strength of his experience. Another thing, his chin is very good. He has never been knocked out in a fight. So his strength here is, another strength of his chin. Never been knocked out in a fight. You know, this is again a positive and a negative because it could catch up to him at some point if he has too much belief in that chin. If he leaves it hanging out there and believes in it too much, he might get knocked out one day. But he has a good chin, so let's count that as a strength. And finally, belief and confidence. He has the arrogance that every great fighter and top fighter has had and has at this moment in time. You know, Volkanovski, Jones, Khabib, McGregor when he was a much better fighter, let's be honest. They all have the same thing in common. They had a certain level of arrogance. Granted, they all displayed it in a different way, I think. You know, McGregor was very out there with his confidence. Khabib was more stoic, but then in the cage would talk to you. So he has that arrogance that the greats have, and I think he uses that as a strength. Weakness number one, with experience, which is a positive, comes the negative. You know, he's been through a lot of tough fights, 7 straight 5-round fights. These do take a toll on your body, especially towards the latter stages of your career. And the thing is with fighting is you never know if you are at the latter stages of your career. You don't know until you get sparked out or realize, oh shit, I can't fight for 5 rounds. So there's one weakness. Another, his game plan for most of his fights is quite similar. So you know what you're getting into. He's not unpredictable in terms of his fight strategy. You know, I think that's one of the reasons that Volkanovski managed to get 3 wins over him was that Holloway didn't adapt. He fought a pretty similar strategy in 3 fights. And that's one of the things that Arnold Allen can use. He knows what Holloway is going to bring to the table, and then he just has to adapt to it. And then, thirdly, it's a weakness. It kind of isn't. He's lost 3 fights to Volkanovski, which is 3 in his last 5 fights. Granted, Volkanovski is pound for pound one of the best fighters we have in the UFC. So it's a weakness, but again, you could say it's a positive. He's been in the octagon with arguably one of the best fighters in the UFC in his last 5 fights. So it's a positive and a negative. Arnold Allen, what are his strengths? Well, his strike defense, 3rd best significant strike defense in UFC history. The guy is brilliant at strike defense. Number 2, he's an in and out fighter. He likes to move into the pocket, then move out, move in, move out. And that movement is hard to deal with. You know, against Dan Hooker, I think he was brilliant at that. And calf kicks. He does not telegraph his calf kicks. Now, for someone who's newer to UFC, when I say telegraph, I mean when he's going to throw that calf kick, there is no predetermined or there is no movement that suggests he is going to throw the calf kick, which means it's very hard to stop. And he's a well-rounded fighter. I think he's a great well-rounded fighter. 7 KOs and 3 submissions. You know, he's good on the ground, he's good on the feet. But what are his weaknesses, you may ask? Well, this is a massive step up for him. I mean, he hasn't been in a massive fight on this stage yet. He has been in the UFC, but this is the biggest fight of his career. So we don't know if he's going to be able to cope with the bright lights. And on top of that, fighting a much better fighter than any other fighter he's fought before. So we don't know if he's going to step up. Granted, we can't know that till the night. 2, he likes to get into a slugfest, which can be bad and good at the same time because he has KO power, but he often puts a lot of emphasis on these power punches, which means inherently he may get tired. You know, the more power punches you throw, the more tired you get. They come hand in hand. And if he gets into a slugfest and Holloway manages to drag it to the later rounds, he might be too tired to even keep fighting. So that is another weakness. Now, what are we on, 4th? Well, next weakness, he has never been 5 rounds. Holloway has extreme experience in the 4th and 5th rounds. Again, as I said before, the last 7, he's been through 7 straight 5-round fights. So this guy knows how to work and how to sustain energy and fight in those 4th and 5th rounds, those championship rounds. And Arnold Allen hasn't been there. Granted, he's probably been there in training, but it's not the same. Now, if I had money, I would bet on Max Holloway because of the experience, the amount of 5-round fights, you know, the amount of time he has spent fighting high caliber fighters. I think that overall your best bet is to bet on Max Holloway. But if Allen can chew up that lead leg with his leg kicks, quite like Alexander Volkanovski did to Max Holloway, I think he stands a chance of beating him, and I think the fight could swing in the other direction. But I'm going to go with Max Holloway via points. I think he's going to win by decision. And I think that is the safe option, and I've taken the safe option. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that Max Holloway is going to win? Do you think Arnold Allen is going to win? Would it be an upset? Do you think it's an upset? Who knows? Let me know in the comments below. And as I say always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.